Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast. It's episode 222. And it's November 5th, voting day here in the USA, 2024. Long time no see, Grant.
I know. How are you doing?
Pretty good. It's been a while. We've been busy, all parts of the company.
Yeah. Are you glued to the news today, or are you just choosing to avoid it like me?
Probably avoid it till later on tonight, and then we'll see what happens. But after last week's shenanigans with all these TV channels announcing the winner and everything. I don't know if you saw that, but a lot of the test data that they get given, I guess, were given to the news networks, and they accidentally leaked them onto things like the Formula One was showing that Kamala had won by 7%, and then another, like Fox or something, leaked something on one of their baseball things or whatever that Trump had won. So all this data come out. So if any of those states have those exact numbers, people are going to be a little suspicious today, I'll tell you that. But apparently it was practice data that they got sent there to like practice, releasing the software, but someone pushed the wrong button and it ended up on the live TV. People were posting all over the place. So
Nice.
yeah, but it's always interesting. Not sure what'll happen, but it'll be interesting for sure. So yep. See Andrew and David chatting in the chat. Hey guys, how's it going? Good to see you. Okay. Well, again, I'm Gavin Pickin, and my co-host today is Grant Copley. A lot of cool stuff going on, but let's thank our sponsor, Ortus Solutions.
Yep. So big thanks to Ortus. Ortus is the makers of ColdBox, CommandBox, ForgeBox, all your favorite boxes out there, including BoxL.
Just not voting box.
Voting box, is that what you said?
Yeah, no vote box. We're not in charge of that.
No vote box. All right. A few ways that you can say thanks to Ortus is one of them is you can buy tickets to Into the Box 2025. That's going to be in Washington, D.C. Next year, April 30th through May 2nd. And we'll be posting a link where you can do that. You can also like and subscribe to our videos on YouTube, subscribe to our podcast, and also add that to any of your favorite podcast apps. You can sign up for either a free or paid subscription on CFCast. I think we've got some new content up that we're going to be talking about today. And also we have a BoxLife store. So I didn't get to check it. I was wondering, because I wore my hat today, I wonder if the hat's in the store. But anyways, we've got stuff there that you can check out and purchase if you like, as well as some books, 102 ColdBox quick tips and tricks, and learn modern cold fusion in 100 plus minutes. So we will be posting those for you to check out.
Yep.
In addition to that, oh, sorry, Gavin.
I was going to say, yeah, all the pull requests and issues and everything else helps us too, obviously. But these are just a few different ways you can say thanks back. But yeah, continue, Grant. Sorry.
Oh, just wanted to also say a big thank you to our Patreons. So I believe we are up to 59 Patreons, and we'll be listing some of them at the end of the show here. But yep. Big thank you to you as well.
And if you want to find out more about becoming a Patreon supporter, you can go to patreon.com/OrtusSolutions. Go check that out. And yeah, I mean, it's good to see. I know that some of the people in the chat are Patreon supporters. I was about to say GitHub supporters, but nope, that's different thing completely. I was reading the next announcement there. So we change to news and announcements. Not a whole lot of announcements since the last podcast, but we did have one. Last week we had GitHub Universe, and so it was the 10th GitHub Universe. It's one of those things that not many people even talk about or seem to know about. Have you heard of GitHub Universe before?
No. No, I
So
haven't.
yeah, so it's one of the ones that it's there online, but it's kind of interesting. They're basically focused on developers and developer experience. Makes sense being GitHub being what it is. But yeah, so basically the experience has evolved over time, and basically the pull request was, the invention that sort of made GitHub the big thing. But now it's building the most widely adopted AI coding tool, GitHub Copilot. And so kind of there's a quite a lot of items in the recap, but the big thing is basically this year they're just, AI is what everyone's talking about, and they've done a lot of work in the AI world and adding to Copilot. And one of the surprising announcements was really that you can switch out your LLM behind it now. So if you're using GitHub Copilot and you like, another LLM, you can sort of switch them out. So I thought that was pretty cool that they did that. And some people were like, well, if this was Apple, they wouldn't be letting you choose somebody else's tool. But it's kind of nice that Microsoft's pretty open, and that's one of the big things they've been doing lately with all their tools is being a lot more friendly and open. So
Is that
so
one
yeah.
of those where if you have like a subscription to OpenAI or something similar to that, you can just plug in your credentials or something
Yep.
and use that instead?
Basically, yeah, let's see if I can even pop it open in the screen share so we can, those who are watching at home can even look. Yep. So the big part here is you're basically having the developer choice. So you can use Anthropic's Claude, Google Gemini's 1.5 Pro, OpenAI's O1 Preview and O1 Mini. And they'll be basically rolling out in the Copilot chat first and everything, and then, yeah, sort of rolling them out as they go. But it's kind of cool. And they did mention other things like the GitHub Copilot workspace and code review. And so for those of you that do know, the other big one out there that basically everybody's been using lately, and of course now I've said it, I've forgotten what the heck it was called. Um, I don't know. My brain is blanking, seriously. But basically, the big thing is VS Code is basically pulled all these other ideas from all the other editors out there that people have been using lately, and sort of integrating it back into it. And so they've done a ton of work on that lately, and there's just a lot of it in here. But you'll see, um, you know, a lot of different stuff in here. The multi-model AI native stuff is kind of cool. They're doing more like multi-page changes, and you can send more data into it. So they've really done a lot of work to improve that. So, yeah, the
That's
multi-file
awesome.
editing, GitHub Copilot, yeah, and then the code reviews is kind of interesting because they're trying to make it more in depth, as far as their extensions and everything else. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. So, they have tons of videos too. So if you want to catch up on that, you can go look at that. We got links here for the recap, which sort of all the press release type stuff, which we're sharing. And then we'll also share the links to the videos as well. So you can go and find all of those there as well. So about 30 hours of videos, I think, from all the different announcements and stuff. So yeah, that's sort of the big news for the last
You know,
week.
I think the hardest part is just keeping up with all this AI stuff. It's moving so fast, it's kind of hard to know uh, how to stay on top of it all. I'm using it in Copilot and also OpenAI, but outside of that, I know there's like thousands of things going on around outside of all of that.
Yeah, and I had to look it up, but Cursor was the name of the IDE editor that they basically, someone had created recently, and that had a whole lot of attention, and a lot of people are really loving it because it took VS Code beyond the normal workflow, and so they created a sort of a basically like a fork of it and improved on it, and made some changes, and a lot of those features basically VS Code just sort of Sherlocked back in. They just basically brought them all in. So there's I think one thing that everyone said that Cursor has that they didn't announce at GitHub Universe, but it sounds like it's actually part of it still. They just didn't make a big deal out of it. So I think it's one of those things when you build a cool product, everyone's like, "Oh wow, this is so cool," and the big company says, "Okay, we can do that too." So it's cool to see the innovations there. Just hopefully Cursor keeps pushing forward and keeps making everything better. Um, so if you guys are looking for an AI editor, Cursor's got some pretty cool features too. But
Very
yeah.
cool.
Okay. Well, we also have some new releases and updates, and of course, the BoxL train keeps moving. The BoxL beta's been on a flow every week. We've been releasing them, and we got two pretty big ones. Beta 20 and 21 had a ton of stuff fixed in them and improved.
Yeah, beta 20 had 6 new features, 11 improvements, 15 bugs fixed. And yeah, just a couple days ago, it looks like beta 21 dropped. Some more features, more bug fixes. We'll be posting the links to those.
And of course, the blog post gives you more detail into each of those pieces, and we got links to all the Jira tickets and everything there too. So a lot of great information in there. Go check it out.
So are those betas dropping every week for the
Yep,
most
every
part?
every week we've been dropping a beta. So every Friday, even when Luis was on vacation, we still drop one on a Friday.
Hey,
Yep. So it's a
keep
really
police busy.
yep. And of course, there's a lot of team members working on it, doing their different pieces, and a lot of cool things have been released all the time. So I know we're converting modules. We're certifying them as BoxL ready for a lot of the modules. I know Quick and QB and Hyper and stuff were released a few weeks back, and now I think the BoxL cross-site request forgery module drops in one of these as well. So we're just knocking out the modules. So if everything that Audis does can run on BoxL with all the modules, then pretty much most people should be covered, because we cover most edge cases of all of our sites and all of our code. So we're just working through and getting everything updated and enjoying all the BoxL goodness. So lots and lots of stuff coming through, and lots of community support and the Box team Slack too. There's a channel in there if you got issues or questions or need some help. It's definitely a great place for it, and on the community side as well. Okay, moving on. We got some webinars, meetups, workshops coming up. So in November 20th, so a few weeks away now, we got Boost Your Confidence and Silence the Inner Critic, Overcome Imposter Phenomenon. And so that's part of the SAC Interactive Tech Meetup in Sacramento. So Wednesday the 20th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And if you go out to meetup.com, and I think we're sharing the link there, thanks Grant, you'll be able to see the sign up. And if you sign up, I believe they give you the Zoom link so you can join remotely as well, which is nice to see. But yeah, we don't have a lot of other ones right now. I guess everyone's been pretty busy. But we'll see what else we have coming in the future here. CFCast, though, we've got a little video out there. So a couple weeks back, we talked about Socketbox. So Brad worked hard in getting a WebSocket integration built into the sort of the library inside of CommandBox and Undertow, and he's released a video up on CFCast. Did you get a chance to see this one yet, Grant?
I have not. I was just about to ask, is this like is it its own like WebSocket server that runs parallel to your
It
web server?
it's actually a feature built into the Undertow. So inside of CommandBox, when your site's up and running, there's just a little servlet. So it's really neat that it just texts into what you're already running. So it's neat that it's not something different. And Brad's got some really cool examples up on GitHub, so you can go look at those little demos. And in this example, he walks through showing you sort of an interactive demo and explains a bit of it. But yeah, we had it, and he recorded as a byte. I think he called it Audis byte.
Tortoise bytes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's a about 20-minute little video there, and you can sort of see it all happening up on CFCast. So yeah, it's a cool little video, a lot of cool stuff, and it's way easier than trying to integrate a lot of other solutions that we've had to deal with in the past. So, but yeah, he's showing off like multi-channel, single-channel stuff. The interactive demos are really neat, and of course the code's all up in GitHub, so you can go grab it and try it out yourself and see what he's doing, how he does it. But yeah, we're excited to play with this. I know some customers have been using other services for WebSocket stuff, so it'd be nice to maybe bring this in and use Socketbox. So very cool.
And please don't hate me, Brad, for not watching that yet.
No
I
problem.
promise I'm going to. I will.
Yeah, I know we have like internal meetings, and some customers meetings conflict, and I think that was the one that Grant was like, "You guys still recording?" And we're like, "Sorry, you just missed it." He's like, "Damn it!" But yeah, it happens. We got a lot of good stuff, but you can watch it on CFCast now. So after the show. Okay, conferences and training. So coming up pretty soon, if you're in the India region, we have a CF Summit India 2024. So this one's actually in two locations the same day, which is going to be kind of interesting. I wonder if they have like some televised stuff in one location versus the other, if they'll be live in both. But in Bengaluru and Noida, the two locations. So December 7th, 2024, and it's free. So can't beat free, right? So,
Free is good.
and yeah, it's good to, they'll have more of the Cold Fusion team there. Obviously, a lot of the developers for Cold Fusion are in India, so they'll have a lot of the engineers. Have a good showing when they come out to Vegas, but I'm sure that's even better there. And I think Luis attended a couple of years back and he really enjoyed the CF Summit in India. So hopefully you guys can get out there. And of course, there's a lot of friends in the community that'll be there as well. So I expect to see some reports. Maybe Yogesh can give us a report on how it was, because I know he'll be there with his team. But next year we got some big stuff coming up.
We do, as I mentioned before, Into the Box. Again, it's in Washington, D.C., and we'll post a link for the tickets. So is these, before I say this, Gavin, are these numbers good on our notes? Can I say
Yeah,
these?
I believe the blind tickets are good until the deadline for the call for speakers or even announcement. So yeah, they should still be good.
I'm seeing 50% off on blind tickets.
I'm
So
double
we've got
checking.
for the conference, and then as well as tickets, the conference plus workshops we'll be doing.
Yeah, but it looks like they're still good. And again, blind tickets just means if we don't have the schedule out, which obviously we gotta wait for the call for speakers to be over, which the deadline is November 15th. So you still got time to submit your topics. And then we have to actually choose and then start announcing the schedule before the blind ticket prices sort of expire. So you probably got another, 2 or 3 weeks. So if you guys are looking, get those tickets for a great price, half off, and it'll be another great conference next year.
Awesome. We also got CF Camp 2025 next year. That's in on May 22nd and the 23rd. We'll be posting the link on that at cfcamp.org. And there's always conferences going on. It's hard to keep up with all of them, but if you want to find more conferences, we'll post a link to conf.tech, where you can find conferences pretty much anytime you want. So there's a lot of stuff going on out there.
Yep. A lot of blog posts as well. So let's get into those. So first up, we got one from Order Solutions, right?
We do. So this went out, I think, yesterday. Thanksgiving Day deals, discounts through the end of the month. We've got a discount code that I think we're going to post here. But essentially, this discount code will give you discounts on things like Cold Fusion Consulting, our CFCast subscriptions. We've got a Couchbase and Redis Lucy extensions available, and even a discount on the BoxL Visionary license. So be sure to check that out. And that's all the way through the end of November.
Yep. So our Cyber Monday, Black Friday started already. So you guys can check that out. So we're trying to make something available for everybody. So definitely a good time to do that. We also have another blog post just with the Audis October newsletter. So you check that out. It's got all sort of the content overview. So it has all the news and all the updates that we've been releasing for all of Audis. So we'll share the link in there. And then we have a blog post from Ben Adele. So he's talking about the safe navigation operator and how it swallows method errors in Adobe 2023. So that always scares me when things swallow errors. Because you don't know something's wrong if it just keeps continuing, right?
Yeah.
So he said he ran into some null reference errors in his Cold Fusion dependency injector, DI1. And so anyway, he just went through the process or whatever and narrowed it down to Cold Fusion. And basically, if you're trying to invoke a component method, any error will be swallowed up and be short-circuited. So basically, because Cold Fusion components are essentially objects, and if you're safe navigating the object to get to a variable, and that variable is a function, and something happens in it, you'd expect it to call it if it exists, but you don't expect it to swallow the error if it exists. So I guess that's part of the problem. And he says it does actually do the same thing in Adobe 2021 and 2023. So um, check that one out, and there might be something to be aware of if you are using the same navigation operator. So interesting. And then next up, you have one from Pete Freitag.
We do. So Pete blogged about his Fixinator and a new compatibility scanner. And basically, there's a new feature in there where if you're upgrading to, maybe you're patching your servers or upgrading to a newer version of Cold Fusion, how can you identify things in your code that might break or might have changed? And he's got a blog post on that. I actually ran into this with a client just last week where I think it was in Cold Fusion, Adobe Cold Fusion 2021 and 2023. That's right. They made changes to the encryption, decryption functions, as
Oh,
well as variable scoping. So with one of the patches that we were applying, so we were trying to figure out how can we identify the encryption and decryption stuff was easier, but they also added some security changes to variable scoping and how Cold Fusion looks at the different variable scopes. And I was actually kind of curious to see if Pete's Fixinator could identify those sorts of things too, but I haven't got to reach out to him yet.
yeah, I remember way back in the day, I think we went from like CF8 to CF9, the order of lookups changed inside of functions and CFCs or something. And certain variables that we just assume were being referenced were actually getting a different scope, and it really messed us up. And it's not something you can easily identify because you're not scoping them in the first place. That's why the scope creep is an issue. And so it's hard to, look for that. So yeah, I wonder if Pete can handle that. But yeah, Fixinator is a great tool, and adding features like that, I know that it'll help everyone's life for sure, because that's part of what we do at Otis. We do a lot of consulting and helping people upgrade and migrate from one version to another. And we have some little tools and scripts and things we look for, but Fixinator is one of the tools we use as well. But speaking of that, we actually released a blog post calling Future Proof Your Cold Fusion Apps. And so sort of talks about auto solutions, and it's basically how we sort of built a framework for Cold Fusion success, as they put it. And so just sort of a summary of how we sort of work together with our customers. So we basically consult with them, access a team of Cold Fusion experts. And a lot of teams, we actually use staff augmentation to extend your team with Cold Fusion experts. And then, yeah, there's other options like nearshoring, so efficient, cost-effective talent. Um, basically, we've got a mix of developers, in different places, and then obviously custom development. We can tailor custom Cold Fusion solutions for you, and basically, just sort of some of the things that we do, and how we go about it, and how we could work your team to help your team improve. So a little blog post there.
David Bellinger says, and Pete is awesome, and totally agree. He is awesome.
Yep.
Some stuff. Back to Pete for a second.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, Pete deserves it. He does a lot of hard
Yeah.
work, and shares a lot with the community. So thank you, Pete. We also have one from James Moberg talking about a Cold Fusion wrapper for the Zint barcode generator. So he was talking about that when he posted something earlier. It's a really cool little basic line syntax for generating a QR code or whatever. The cool thing is that it does give you like 50 different formats. And so he sort of gave a little Cold Fusion wrapper for that up on his dev.to blog there. So again, if you're doing barcodes of any kinds, you may want to use that. But yeah, you could use that. The cool thing is you can just save it off to an SVG or whatever, and then use it when needed. So pretty cool. And then we did have a BoxL extension VS Code summary. So Jacob has been writing a little series about that, and so the BoxL debugger. So he's got a little blog post on that as well. So if you want to look at using that, the cool thing is though it does actually work with CFML too. So it's trying to basically, make these tools available whether you're writing BoxL or CFML code. So the VS Code extension has got a lot of cool things in it, no matter what language you're writing there. So
Very cool. We also have a blog by James Moberg, he created a struct to table UDF that he posted, where essentially you can take a struct and pass it to this UDF and it will create the table for you. And I was looking at it, looked pretty cool. It actually allows you to sort columns as well. So if you have like a struct that's got maybe first name, last name, phone number, you can pass the columns you want in order, and it will generate the table in order as well.
Yeah, very cool.
So,
Yep. So we shared that link, and then those who have been following Ben Adele, we know that he loves feature flags, and he wrote a book about feature flags and has released it. And he's been working on a feature flag playground, and so he's basically finished it up just recently. And so it's a way for you to basically play with feature flags in this lightweight hands-on experience that he made. And he says, obviously feature flags can be a little bit hard to understand just reading through concepts in a book. And so the playground gives people an opportunity to click around and actually do that. And so he's built that, released the code. It's available up on GitHub. And he's using ColdFusion, Parcel, Alpine, and Less.js. And it's built in Docker so you can run it yourself, but he's made a little video for you too. So if you check out that blog post, you can see the video and follow along and get to see, feature flags working. So definitely pretty cool. And then, have you used window functions much?
no, I don't even know. What are they?
I think that's just a different name for CTEs, right? I think they are. But
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
believe. But yeah, so basically, Ben Adele has another blog post about playing with window functions in MySQL 8. Andrew Davis just said, yeah, Ben likes feature flags and tag islands. Yes, you are right. But yeah, so basically, I guess, I think we had another blog post we didn't mention here, but there was a course that Ben went through by Aaron Francis on SQLite performance. Basically, window functions was functions that allow you to calculate data based on the current row. And that's why I'm thinking like sort of the CTE thing. You sort of make a window function to look at the row as you roll over them. But yeah, so he has a little thing there about playing with those window functions. And so if you haven't used them or haven't heard of them, window functions are really cool and powerful. And it goes beyond that basic CRUD stuff that we do. So if you're doing, maybe some reports or something else, window functions give you the ability to really calculate data across that row a little better. So yeah.
So is this something available in multiple databases, or is this like a MySQL
Well,
specific?
there are some specific, syntax for some of them, but basically, it's the with this as something. And so you basically can roll through. And again, it's basically a CTE type setup. And again, I think some of them call them CTE, some of them call them window functions. But yeah, basically, because common table expression is a CTE. And so it's one of those things like we've done CRUD for most of our developer lives. And unless you need to, you don't usually dive into too many of the bigger things. We're just used to looping over code. But when you've got, hundreds of thousands of rows, doing it in the database is way more performant. And so
Yeah.
that's where some of these things can really add value. So I definitely recommend checking these out. And there are differences between them, but most of them are pretty available across the thing. But basically you'll have like dense rank over, then partition by domain, order by email. And they use them in Postgres too, so they're very similar, but I think they just got different names. There probably is a specific difference between the names of them, but yeah, it's got a really good blog post describing it all. So I definitely think that would be a good one. And that's actually something I want to skill up a little bit more, is my database skills. I guess I could ask Sean Oden, he's the DBA that we all know and love. But yeah, I know that they are different between them. So I guess the SQLite course by Aaron Francis is one that Ben did. But if anyone else has done any SQL courses on like Udemy or whatever lately, like share a link, I'd like to know. If they need to upskill, there's so many cool things databases do these days that I'm sure I'm missing out on a lot of power. So anyways, so another blog post from Adobe. So obviously CF Summit was last month, and so they put a little blog post out there just gathering all the sessions and all the slide decks and everything together. So if you wanted to look something up, if you did attend, you can do that. And if you didn't attend, you can get an idea of what the talks were about, and hopefully they'll get those online sessions recorded and be available in the new year as the CF Online Summit, as they've done in recent years. So, but a lot of great sessions at CF Summit. Go check that out.
And we've got another Ortus blog. It's a cold box free tip using structs for query strings. So one of the features in Coldbox is the build link method that you can use to create links to your pages and pass in like an event, either event name or a route name. But you can also pass in structs, and it will automatically take whatever's passed into the struct and append it as a query string to your link. So this becomes pretty helpful, especially if you're dealing with like really long query strings where you're passing, a lot of stuff in your links. Instead of doing all that manually, you can just pass that in directly to build link, and it saves some time and makes it a bit easier to deal with.
Yeah, I really do like that. It's pretty neat. I think of it similar to when you're using, Axios or some of those other tools in JavaScript, or even using Hyper. You can just pass a struct into, form variables or query params. So it's definitely very cool.
Yeah.
I think I forgot to share that one, so let me do that.
Oh, I already beat you.
You beat me to it?
Oh,
Oh, man.
You did.
That's what happens when I start looking up what a CTE and window functions are. So, yeah, I did look up the difference. So a CTE splits complex query into parts that can be referenced later. Basically, similar to derived tables, etc. But window functions divides the results into frames or groups, then runs functions between them to compare. So, ranking or looking at percentile groups and stuff like that. So window functions can be highly useful for query optimization and big data. But yeah, so there is a little difference there. But again,
you beat me to it, but I was going to go to Chat GPT and basically say, explain the differences to me like I'm a 10-year-old.
Yeah, be funny. Well, maybe that would help. But yep, we do have some BoxLang blog posts as well. So we had a BoxLang newsletter. So if you want to see all the BoxLang related material, not just the Ortus stuff, we do have that for October. So we've got a little summary there. And of course, we did mention we released beta 21 and beta 20. And so we have blog posts for both of those there with all the different pieces. And as I mentioned, the BoxLang, the BXCSRF module, the cross-site request forgery token functionality was released in 2021. But a lot of cool stuff in each of these, tons of fixes, and so the blogs are really detailed, and you can find out more there.
Groovy.
Okay, so moving on, let's go to find a job. So if AI takes over and we're looking for a job because we're being replaced, we can go to CFML or get CFMLjobs.com, and there's a couple of jobs listed there new since the last one.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 2 new jobs listed. One is a full-time senior developer at Remote. This is in the US, and it posted just a couple days ago. The other one is a contract Cold Fusion developer. They're looking for either mid or senior developer, and it looks like that's based out of Virginia. And we'll be posting a link for that as well.
Yep. So getcfmljobs.com. It's a great place to post. You can post for free, and you can also it scrapes lots of different posting sites out there. So let us know if you guys are looking for someone, and we can also remind everybody on the podcast as well. And this CFML Slack channel and the Box Team Slack channel have jobs channels in there as well. Okay, so ForgeBox module of the week. This is a new one called Command Box BoxLang Feature Audit. So for those of you who haven't looked into BoxLang too much, there is a tool built into the BoxLang core jar, which allows you to sort of look at your code. You can run a feature audit on your code, and it'll look and see what's compatible and what's not with your code to see basically what we need to either update, or maybe you need to install other modules for your BoxLang to be able to run your code. And so Dan Card has created a function in command box, so you can do a command box command and basically run your feature audit from inside of command box there. And so that'll run against your code and tell you what's compatible and what's not, and let you know what features you need to either get an extension for, or maybe we haven't built it. So it might be something. So that's been really helpful. A lot of our customers trying things out have been running the feature audit and reporting back to us to let us know what's missing, what we need, and maybe what's not quite compatible, so we can build a compatibility layer, or, add that module to the list and keep on knocking them out.
Very
So,
nice.
so yeah, so just putting in a command box module command makes it much easier to run. So thanks, Dan, for that one. And yeah, run that on your code. Let us know what else we need to do to get stuff running in BoxL. Up next, we got the VS Code hint tip trick of the week, and you might have guessed what this one might be, right, Grant?
Something to do with AI?
Yep. So GitHub Copilot, we haven't actually posted on here for quite a while as a VS Code extension, but they've done a lot of updates. So again, the GitHub Copilot, your AI pair programmer. So when you install that inside of Visual Code, you actually get two different extensions. So you get the Copilot itself, which gives you inline coding suggestions as you type, and it also gives you the GitHub Copilot chat. So that's that companion extension that provides the conversational AI assistance. And some people basically do that in a browser anyway, but this brings it into the core of VS Code and gives a little bit more context, I believe, too. And again, just announced the GitHub Universe, you can now change your sort of provider. So if you aren't happy with the OpenAI version, or if you want to switch to OpenAI, because they have the mini and then they have the other version they got all those different little changes. You could use Claude or whatnot. You can change that as well. So, but definitely some cool things in there. And yeah.
I'm gonna ask Gavin, because I was curious about this. Now that you can change those out, what has Copilot been using all along?
Well, so GitHub is a Microsoft product. Microsoft owns OpenAI, so it's OpenAI inside of.
I figured it was.
Yep. And so obviously Microsoft has their Copilot, which helps you with like all your 365 products now, and it's whatever. So GitHub Copilot's the coding version, and then they've got the normal Copilot for if you're using Word or Outlook or something. They have it in there. And even in Windows, you've got a Copilot Windows prompt if you're a Windows user. And so they're all basically OpenAI under the hood. But yeah, so this option to switch out and give you the choice is kind of neat. And I said, considering they own OpenAI, it's kind of surprising that they use competitors, but it gives them the choice. So it's nice to see that. And again, it's pretty neat. And obviously some things it does better than others. If you're inside of repetitive code and you're doing a few things, Copilot's great for figuring out what you're going to do next. If you write a comment first and then go down and start typing, it's really good at figuring out from your comment what you want to do. It'll do it. And obviously languages that are more popular, Java, JavaScript, Python, it's really awesome. Cold Fusion, it's still learning, but it does figure out things from other things in your code. But it does hallucinate every once in a while, give you a function name that we probably should have called it in Cold Fusion and they didn't. So every once in a while you're like, wait a minute, this function's not working. Oh, that's because we named it array length, not, something else. So yeah, sometimes I'm like, we should just take all these hints and then give them to Brad over in BoxL and make sure that it works the right way, Let's have like an AI compatibility layer to translate all the 50 different function names. Like Python calls it this function. We shouldn't have an alias for that. So no matter what method you use, it'll just work.
Yeah.
Yep. So GitHub Copilot. It's pretty neat. Give it a try. And I think there's a free trial too, so you can sign up with that.
Yeah, earlier today, Copilot had tried to have me call the .concat method on an array in CFML. And I was like, nope. At least I don't think it would work.
Yeah. I know there's a bunch of things and like Lucy added a few extra ones, but I think for BoxL, since it's just an alias, we should add like a compatibility layer. So, when you're using your JavaScript function names, this should just work. We can just alias it to the right function under the covers and just makes it easier. So, why not make it work if it's not convoluting the code? If it's not doing something different, then why not? But
there you go.
Maybe we'll just have to make an extension for Gavinize my code. Yeah. Well, next up, we want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. As we mentioned, we got 59 Patreon supporters now, which is awesome because they individually and personally sponsor our open source initiatives to make sure we can keep making all the tools we do, including CommandBox, ForgeBox, CodeBox, TestBox, BoxL, and everything else. And of course, most of the community contributions go towards funding our cloud infrastructure, and that we rely upon heavily with ForgeBox and our package management set up with CommandBox. Because without it, ColdFusion wouldn't have it, and that's why everybody started leaving in 2010, because we didn't have a package manager. So,
We do
big
now.
deal. Yep, we do. So, and it's great to see everyone, not just ColdBox users, but the community using it. So even Framework 1 is, they've got packages there, and, it's not just a ColdBox tool. So it's great to see the community using it. And you can find out more about patreon.com support packages on patreon.com/AutoSolutions. But you do get some perks too for being a Patreon, so you get something back. So, as we mentioned, ForgeBox Pro, CFCast, those are bronze packages. So if you like CFCast, you can get basically a Patreon subscription included if you are a bronze supporter. But don't worry, basically every package level gets Patreon profile badges on the community website. You get your own private forum access on the community site, and you get your own private channel on the Box Team Slack, so you can get our attention and ask questions, and sometimes we'll even throw stuff out at you guys before we release it to the public, and get your opinion there. And again, we appreciate each and every one of them, but we do have a lot of Patreon supporters now, which is a good problem to have, but we can't read them all, so we're just going to read some of the top Patreons from our list. So you want to go ahead and do that?
All. I will do my best here. If I mispronounce anybody's name, apologies in advance. But thank you guys. John Wilson with Synaptrix, Tomorrow's Guides, Jordan Clark, Gary Knight, Giancarlo Gomez, David Bellinger, Dan Card, James Moberg, and Jeffrey McGee with Sunstar Media, Dean Monder, Kevin Wright, Doug Kane, Nolan Irk, and Abdul Rahim. So thank you all so much for supporting what we do.
Yep, appreciate each and every one of you. So if you guys are in America and can go vote, I guess you should go do that. Otherwise, we won't be able to blame you for it tomorrow. You guys have a good one. We'll catch up in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.